our group, I realized that the vision of our CEO, Mr. Velammal, was in concurrence with a paradigm shift in education that is happening in most progressive schools today. And that is that the children must be taught how to think, not what to think. In my experience of over 22 years in education, I've realized that education is a progressive discovery of one's own ignorance. There's always so much more that we need to know of what is happening around in the world in education today. Thankfully, education today is on the brink of a major reinvention. Rather than mastering specific skills or areas of topical knowledge, education now is transforming itself into a continual journey marked by learning more and more deeply about one's own capabilities. Also, collaborating and communicating with others. Schools that are going to be relying on mere memorization or measuring students' abilities by standardized tests, I'm sure are going to become redundant very soon. As we are all aware, information is all around us today. It is easily accessible. Anybody with a smartphone and a Wi-Fi connection can have all the knowledge of anything around the world from any place where he is in. It could be a remote village, a town, or a small taluk. All he needs is a smartphone and a Wi-Fi connection. So we need to now remodel our schools. We need to think differently. Why do you think this need has arrived? The child who's seeking admission in kindergarten in 2017 will graduate in the third decade of the 21st century. So if you calculate that, he would graduate in 2031, maybe retire by 2065 or more. But the world into which this young student is going to step into is going to have lots of challenges, opportunities, difficulties maybe, which we cannot even visualize today. The demands that will be presented to this child will be a lot different than what we can imagine today. It will demand children who can collaborate, can innovate, are globally connected, could easily use technology, should have great critical thinking skills, communication skills, analytical thinking, creative skills, all that which is not looked into our academic system at all. They also will need to possess an ability of discernment, to be able to make choices. Choices where they're going to be bombarded with information from all sides. They will need to know how to make their choices, and also to be able to respond quickly. That is what tomorrow's education will need preparation for. As we increasingly move towards this environment of instant and infinite information. Why do I say infinite? Because it is going to be, if you see the progress that technology has made in the last 5 years, is much more than what it has made in maybe a decade. So when we are looking at the time when the children will be graduating and looking for jobs, I think there will be a lot more that they will need to know. So what is it that we can give them now? More than the ability to memorize and recall information, I think what we need to look at is the ability to find, sort, analyze, critique, share, discuss, and create that information, find that information. Simply put, they need to be able to move from being knowledgeable to be able to use the knowledge that is available to them. They will enter a job market that will reward creativity, flexibility, learning what is new on the job, and of course, comfort with technology. These learners, voters, decision makers of tomorrow, the leaders that we are going to look up to, need that practice now, need to know how to make these choices, need to have the ability of discernment. How are they going to do it? They need to question. They need to research. They need to be taught how to find alternative solutions and solve problems. A little difficult again, because we are talking about the teacher who's standing in front of a row of children and saying, okay, now this is your portion, this is what you need to study, this is how you're going to be examined, and it all depends upon your marks. So what are the schools that we're looking at in the future? We need schools that will nurture, that will be giving them a loving atmosphere, that will celebrate learning, not only teach. Respect childhood, enhance their metacognition skills to make them successful citizens of the 21st century. Must also provide an enriching environment, an environment that is conducive not only to academic growth, but also to social, emotional, physical, and cognitive development. Not to forget that it has to be a safe and supportive environment, a creative atmosphere that promotes self-discipline, motivation, and excellence. To sum it all up, I would say that the pillars of a good education system is a well-rehearsed, well-researched curriculum, which enhances life skill training, an infrastructure which is sensory rich, enables experiential approach, enhances metacognition skills, provides and promotes acquisition of deeper knowledge, which augments their life skills that are needed to meet the challenges of tomorrow. And most importantly, educators. Educators with a growth mindset who collaborate with professional learning communities from all around the world, are willing to learn and are handling their strengths. So what should the teacher look like now? In the words of former US First Lady Barbara Bush, children are great imitators. Give them something great to imitate. By teachers, by educationists, I also mean parents. Parents, extended family, school, people who work in school around them, your maybe peers, they're all part of learning. We as teachers are the managers of the world's greatest resource. As you know, in India, we have the youngest population here. Whatever we say, feel, and do creates a ripple effect that influences and affects the present and the future of the collective consciousness of Earth. What the child learns today is something which he will pass on to his child, and who will pass that on to his child. So we are affecting generations by what we teach today. Not to forget that the child of today is living in the most intensely stimulating period in the history of the earth. They are besieged with information from the internet, from iPhones, from advertisements, from TV channels. So much of distraction. And then, if we are going to have a teacher who's going to stand like a sage on stage and is going to be giving a lesson which is absolutely made to one-size-fits-all theory, that is why we say we need to change our education. We need our teachers to be learning more and being part of the professional community. By teachers, I do mean parents too. The 8 key competencies of what we want the child of tomorrow to be ready for are curiosity, creativity, criticism, communication, collaboration, compassion, composure, and citizenship. And most of all, schools, parents, the teaching community, extended family, what we need to give our children to be able to cope the challenges of tomorrow is the power to dream, the power to discover, the power to deliver, the power to be a change agent, the power to develop, the power to lead, and most important is the power to be the best me. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Manveen. Thank you for providing us insights to help us understand the kind of future our kids need to prepare. It really sounds scary that our children will be in 2031 passing out and we don't know what skills we need to prepare them for. So thanks for providing us those insights. Quickly leveraging the time, keeping that in mind, I will start putting the questions that some of our parents have shared. I think the first question is, while you tell us that these are the things that are required for future, what is the criteria that should parents have in selecting schools today? Any insights, Manveen, that you can provide?
As parents, I think you are the best judge as to what your child's capabilities and limitations are. You are the person who knows what your vision for the child is. Choose a curriculum that is related to all these answers. Of course, check the infrastructure, check the hygiene, the safety, the teacher quality, which is most important because your child is going to be with the teacher for the maximum time in school. And just as the child learns their language, their mannerisms, their actions from the parent, so too do they follow the teacher. So please make sure that you check these before you go into choosing a school for your child.
Okay, thanks, Manveen. The next question was, what is the difference in a Montessori school and a nursery school? A lot of parents have these choices, and they are wondering what would suit them best.
Montessori education is based on a scientific research done by Maria Montessori, and it deals more with teaching materials that make learning successful. Under nursery or kindergarten, there are a lot more forms of education that is followed, like the Waldorf, like the Reggio Emilio, and Eton House, and of course, what the state syllabus has to offer. So, choosing what you think. If your child is going to be a hands-on learner, I would say Montessori is better. If depending upon your child's learning style, that is what is going to make it easy for you to make the decision.
Okay. I mean, the next question was, how would children who have studied in foreign schools be able to adapt to the Indian schools here, Manveen?
As you're all aware, the difference between the international education and the education and the school system that is followed in India is vast. Of course, most children are very adaptable. They quickly follow in line, but it takes a little long. Education setup, it's better to move them into a setup which is more similar to the one that the child has been in earlier. That should be a deciding factor.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Manveen. Some questions on the preparation. A lot of these schools are having interview for kids who are going to join the schools for the first time. Manveen, so how do we prepare them for the interview?
I personally don't believe in interviews.
Okay.
But if you have to, I would say that please be encouraging to your child. Neuroscience has proved that a part of our brain shuts off when it feels it's threatened, or like in the case of an interview, in an examination, or when you are put in a situation where people are watching over you. So that is not something we would want our child to go through at that time. So encourage. Make him feel good. Make him feel it's just like another outing. Let him know what he is doing. Make sure that he feels confident when he has to face the interview. I think that should be what we should all look at.
Thanks. So Manveen, same from not just from an interview. How should we prepare our children who are going to go to the school for the first time?
I think the parent needs to be prepared first, because most of the time it's the parent who has to be weaned away, especially if it's the first child. What we need to do is, of course, prepare ourselves confidently. Please start telling the child a week or so in advance that we will be going. Make sure you tell him that it's a fun place. He's going to meet friends. He's going to learn so much more. There's going to be craft. If you are going to be worried, your child is going to worry, why is my mother sending me to a place where she is not unsure of? So what we need to do is make the child understand from your body language and cues that yes, you are comfortable that the child is going there. So he's confident it's a safe place. And once he feels that, he will surely go happily. Make sure you tell him that you're going to be there to pick him up and be 5 minutes early, not 5 minutes late to pick them up. And don't forget to tell them you're proud of them that he spent a day in school. That would be a positive beginning for an lifelong education.
Thanks, Manveen. Very interesting question now, Manveen. Is play school really required before joining nursery?
Play school helps enhance the social skills that are needed. Of course, academic also. It also enhances their motor abilities, fine motor, gross motor activities are being given to enhance all this. Also remember that right now in India, we are now moving away from the joint family structure to a nuclear structure. Where it's only exposed to two parents, there's not much communication happening. And also how much can the parents do? But I would suggest only if you feel the school is good for your child. Make sure the quality of people and infrastructure that you're going to send your child to is good. If you think that is the case, yes, it is good for the child.
Okay, thanks. The next question is, as parents, some of the times we don't know the subjects that are being in that level of details. Traditionally, we have been sending our children for additional tuition classes, but now we have some digital classes that are available. What would your viewpoint be, Manveen, on some of these?
Again, this would also matter on the choice of school that you have made. Most schools will make sure that the child has understood the subject. Introducing your child to technology is good, but how much of time are you giving to it? A new learning is always good for all of us, not only for the child. But make sure that you're clear about how much time they're spending with technology, what they're watching. It has to be under adult supervision because they're too young to know what they're logging into. And of course, spend more time with the child than with technology. That would be my answer for it.
Thanks. The next question is, what is the role of parents in educating kids?
A parent is always the first teacher. So parent, I would say sometimes even before birth, there are so many of our mannerisms that the child has picked up while it's still in the womb. So, and picking up of language, picking up of mannerisms, understanding of the world, understanding that this person is safe for me or no, emotional development, all has happened before coming to school. The maximum brain growth development happens between 1 year to 3 years. So as a teacher, you have started your job then. Continue with that job. Remember that now your co-partners are the teachers and of course the peer group that the child is going to learn from. And throughout life, it's an unending job as a parent. You continue to be a teacher as long as you're there.
Okay. Thanks, Manveen. What is the scope for CBSE compared to ICSE? I think that's a lot of questions that parents have.
See, again, I would say is that when you're thinking of schooling itself, you should know what is it that you're looking for. Are you looking for competitive exams? Are you looking that your child tomorrow is going to have a deeper knowledge? Each of these curriculums is very well researched. There are years of research that have gone into it, and each one is offering different things. There is more emphasis on maths and science in CBSE, more in language and arts in ICSE. It depends upon what you think, like I said earlier, the limitations and strengths of your child are. Choose the curriculum according to that.
Moving on to the next question. Why are the education fees so high, Manveen?
As a teacher and as a principal, it's a very difficult question for me to answer. Of course, I would say why not? Why not if you are willing to As you know, the prices of everything have gone high now. And the schools, I do know that certain schools charge a lot over than the prescribed amount that has been by the government. But I also feel that the teachers and the school should be given their due, but within limits. That depends upon the school you choose. I'm sure you have enough options. If you're not happy with what the fee structure of the school, go to the other option.
Sure. I think one of the questions that has quickly come is that, hey, but because the kids are so small, how do they decide between ICSE and CBSE? I think that's a question that has come just.
It's not only ICSE and CBSE. We also have IB and IGSE if you want further confusion. The international curriculums more deal with moving from one place to the other globally. The CBSE, like I said, is more based on science and maths. The first thing, like I said earlier also, is you identify the strengths and limitations of your child. You know what you want your child to do. You know them best because you're just 3 years and they have spent maximum time with you. As far as about CBSE, we know that it's a well-researched curriculum. They prepare the children for competitive exams, larger focus on maths and science. Whereas ICSE is more based on applied knowledge. It's more, the focus is more on language, arts, and science. They do not have a prescribed textbook. It's just for the school to decide which textbook they need to have. More based on application of the knowledge that is learned. And the CBSE is more for preparation to be competitive exams. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thanks, Manveen. I think that. The other question was, for the same CBSE schools, and why is there a difference in syllabus and the method of teaching? Would it continue in higher classes, and how would parents handle this?
In fact, I'm very surprised by this question because the CBSE has a common syllabus that is followed throughout. And if the school is not following, then we need to look into it. Even there is an ongoing research that goes on in CBSE. And like I mentioned earlier, please check because everything that comes through the CBSE Council is all looked into and is also, I think they have their checks done. So maybe we need to look into the school that you're talking about.
Okay. The next question was, if one of the kids is a slow learner, how should parents select school or activities based on that, Manveen?
If we are talking about a slow learner at 3 years, if that is what you're meaning to ask me, I think I would give the child a little more time to decide before saying it's a slow learner. It could be a medical problem, which would need assessment. So again, that term is used very loosely of being a slow learner. We all have multiple intelligences in us. I would be an audiovisual learner, somebody else would be a kinesthetic learner, somebody would be more musically inclined. That will also show through our learning styles. So saying, like I said, it's a very loosely used term, but if we're talking about knowing that the child is having a problem in studies due to a medical problem or due to dyslexia or ADHD or dyscalculia or other problems, then we need to really work on it. The faster we get them into schools that have inclusion, schools that have a SEN department, schools that have teachers who are passionate to see the improvement in the child. That is what we need to start at the earliest. And of course, we will need assessment, we will need remedial and a follow-up on the remedial. That will make a great difference in the child.
Thanks, Manveen. Yeah, I think that will help. I think the new question that has just come up, I'll take that question from Daphne. Her kid is just 2.5 years old and she wants to know how will she know what is her kid good at?
2 years, you're already labeling your child. Please, as I have just said, all of us have our strengths and weaknesses. She might be very good in language, but not so good in maths. She might be very good in sports, but not so good in language. They all have their strengths. Please look at their strengths. Nurture their strengths. Make sure they do well in what they know best. Please don't label them. It's too early in life. And I would say never label them.
So Manveen, you're telling you need to give more time. You can't hurry up right now in deciding whether they are what.
We never need to label them at any time.
Okay.
Each one of us has something good on us. Each one of us has our own strengths. Let's nurture those strengths.
Sure. I think there are two questions related to the age itself, Manveen. One of them was age regulation, that, hey, is there a definite age regulation for admission across schools for CBSE or ICSE, or is it completely left to schools?
No, there is an age regulation. Actually, also age regulation state-wise. In certain states, you start at 3 years. In certain states, you start at 3.5 years. Basically, it's between 3 and 3.5 years, depending upon the school that you're choosing and the state. So that you have to find out what is happening in your local schools and your local area.
Okay. Manveen, there's a follow-up question on that same topic. What is the right age for a play school?
Are you talking about play school as in the preschool time before the child comes in? Formal education? I would say that the child can start, if most schools offer this free 1 day of coming into school and seeing how they feel about it. If you have that option, please go and see how your child feels. Between 1 and 2 usually is a mom and me program. So you are there with them. It's usually a 1.5 hour program. And some schools do take you at 2. You start formal education, which is just for 1 or 2 hours. So depending upon the school, depending upon the teachers, sometimes it's the children who are not extroverts and don't want to go out. So if your child is an introvert, please don't push him right then. If he's feeling confident, if he's feeling safe, if he wants to go, please, there is no limitation to what age you can start. But make sure that out of the 24 hours, if you're going to keep the child away from you, make sure the child spends maximum time possible with you, because you are the best teacher.
Thanks, Manveen. There's a request to repeat the answer for one of the questions that you have answered earlier, because probably parents moved from the old session to the one. What is the scope for CBSE compared to ICSE? I know it's a repeat, but it'll help our parents.
I would also like to point out now it's not only CBSE and ICSE. We have CBSE, we have ICSE, we have IGCSE, we have IB. Each one of them has its own strengths. CBSE is more related with science and mathematics. Based on that, again, preparation for competitive exams. ICSE is more application-based, it's more deep learning, and the focus more is on English, arts, and science. For the international curriculums, I would say they are more concept-based, they are more experiential, and make the child is able to apply much faster. Those are the differences between them.
Similar follow-up question to that. How does this ICSE board gel into the Indian competitive exams? So, for example, if students who are going to study ICSE, how will they do in the competitive exams?
Most of the children do very well because they have deep knowledge about the subject. So once you have a thorough understanding of whatever is going to be coming in your papers or whatever you have learned, it's a deeper knowledge, it has been well applied, I don't think that is a problem at all.
Fantastic. Travel time, I think that's a question that the parents are asking, that hey, if kids are traveling more than 2 hours away to the school, do you think it is going to really...
Elongated travel time is okay for children who are older, but I am absolutely against children who are young and who need to be spending that time more with parents or with friends or playing or on the playground and doing other work than sitting in the bus caught up in their seat. I absolutely don't agree to that.
Yeah, I think if the parent is asking 2 hours of travel to and from.
I think she needs to change the school.
Sure. Thanks. I'm just thinking if I've missed anybody's question. I think one of the parents has asked if their child is good at maths and science, can they opt for CBSE as you recommended earlier?
I would certainly suggest that you can opt for CBSE. You can stay in the curriculum they are in and help him strengthen his skills through other methods. You have so much matter available online. You have so much what you can help from your side. So why are you restricting yourself to syllabuses? Education is out there for everyone to see, everyone to access. You can sit with them and give them worksheets. He's going to do well or she's going to do well. So please don't limit yourself to syllabus as now.
Yeah, I think a lot more questions again on the syllabus. So one of the parents is again thinking, I know you answered this question that ICSE students will not find it difficult to attend the competitive exams, but there is a question that aren't these competitive exams more from memory-based questions? So how will ICSE questions students be able to answer them?
I think what we can do is as they're growing older and they are when they're able to understand, maybe we have the preparatory exams online. Let them take that and practice. Like I said, knowledge is easily available. Find the time and find the technology to access it. You can be ready for anything in the world.
Fantastic. One more question. I think we did that. What is the role of extracurricular activities in a child's education? I mean, like
swimming,
tennis, and things like that.
More than anything else, it's the time spent with family. If you are able to give that and you are able to be with the child during these extracurricular activities, of course, it will be beneficial. But by itself, extracurricular activity, moving away from family time and parents and learning skills from being with them, I do not. I think that is right. They need family for emotional intelligence. They need family for that support of being what they wish to be. They need the talking time with parents. Please make sure you spend time with your child.
Sure, thanks. Again, some more questions coming in. What is the right age to introduce a child to digital education?
It's a very tricky question because children now are able to know the icons on a smartphone much before they're able to recognize the alphabet. Now that you could see it as a strength. Of course, it's something at my age we are still struggling, but they have got it innately or maybe learned immediately. I'm saying please support their strength, but it has to come with the responsibility. Be there with the child when he's using technology. Limit the time given to them. Tomorrow's world is all going to be how you're going to access this technology. And it's only going to grow leaps and bounds from what it is today. What we did and learned as in typewriting, these children are able to do immediately. I would say help them. But be responsible in your timing, be strict on your rules, check what they're looking into. And of course, make sure those rules apply for you too.
Sure. Two questions again on the curriculum. Will Montessori help the kid to learn, and can they do Montessori and move to ICSE from first grade?
Yes. The Montessori method was developed by Maria Montessori, and she herself was a doctor. It was a very well-researched program where it is the material, the manipulatives, and the resources that help you in learning. And when you have learned with an understanding of the subject, it remains with you for a lifetime. The child is more confident, emotionally more secure, and also knows how to find the knowledge that he needs for himself. Now, getting into the other curriculums, whenever there's a change from one curriculum to the other, there will be some settling in time. But eventually, they do very well. And Montessorians have already made not made, but have already channelized the subjects in their brain by the time they reach there. And they are more able and they have the ability, I would say, to take in knowledge and processes better than children from non-Montessori environments.
Thanks a lot, Manveen. I think last question probably, parents, I'm assuming this is the last question that we are having. If the parents who have studied from state board, how would they be able to help their child if they are in CBSE or ICSE? How will they be able to help their kids if they are in different boards?
Parents, the first thing I tell you is, why are you worrying? Like I said, knowledge is accessible. If you are willing to learn, it's all there. Learn along with your children if you don't know something. There's no harm. Teach them that learning is a lifetime process. There is nothing that will stop you from learning and stop the child from learning too. I'm sure all of us can help one another in this.
Okay. Parents, I'm assuming that's the list of questions that we had, and I think we have crossed our time limit. Manveen, I know we took 10 more minutes than what we promised to you, but I'm assuming this was very, very beneficial to all our parents. Parents, we look forward for your feedback. We are planning to do more such sessions and looking forward for these interactions with you. Manveen, once again, thanks a ton. I'm sure this helps all our parents because we are so anxious about the future of our children. And people like you, if you can guide us. One last question, I think I missed this, sorry, my bad. If kids are not doing homework, how can we challenge it? Yeah, I think,
I'm sure the homework is very disinteresting. If it was interesting, the first thing they would have done is come home and open his book and finished it. Find out the reason. Is it because he's not understood the topic? Find out the reason. Is it something to do with his handwriting skills? Find out the reason if there's something to do with the way he's seeing it. Most of us are unaware of problems that the children are going through because we don't listen to them. Do not be judgmental. Talk to them and find out. Children want to be right. Innately, they are good. And if they're not able to do something, or if they are being judgmental about the way they are behaving, that's when we have these issues. So please sit down and talk to the child and ask what the problem is. And maybe initially you might have to use some positive reinforcement so that he gets down to do it, because maybe he's got used to not doing it. So try that out, and I'm sure you can, if you sit down and talk to your child, there will be a way out.
Fantastic. I think, guys, I think I'm going to take this as the last question. No more questions, parents. I think they have sent the question. I'm going to stop this with this. How do we assess the kid, what they may be good at? Any specific inputs that are there? Are there any inputs that you might have in assessing the kids, what they are good at? If there is a way that you can guide parents.
We all have our individual strengths. We all have our limitations too. When we are spending time with our child, that itself is going to tell you what your child is good for. You will easily make out this child is inclined more towards maths and science, or inclined more towards knowledge, language and arts. That will give you the clue. So look for it. Keep a little journal. Write down the points where you feel, oh, I realized he did this, which was good in maths. I realized she did this, which would help her in language. If you keep that journal and look into it after a few weeks, you will that the answer will be there for you to see. But you need to observe your child without being judgmental. That is what you have to remember. Difficult for a parent, because as a parent, we first become judges.
Fantastic. And I keep saying last question, then somebody was popping up one more. What should be the emphasis on spoken English at interviews? I think you said more to interviews, and somebody's asking what is the emphasis on spoken English.
I think what a principal would be looking at is the ability to learn more than what he has learned. He's going to be looking at how much this child is going to work himself to make a change. How much the child is open to taking suggestions from people. Is he going to be willing to learn something new? And if all those points are there in the child, the want to learn is there, the spoken English will come automatically.
Okay, I think parents, we're going to end this session. Again, Manveen, opportunity for me to thank you once more because parents asked some more questions. Really, really appreciate it. Parents, I think we'll take these questions for the next session or anything like that. But thanks a ton.
You're most welcome. I would like to end this with a quote from Albert Einstein. He says, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Like I said, please look at the strengths of your child. Nurture those strengths. Make sure he becomes a confident learner and let him know that what he doesn't know, there's still scope for learning. You are the best person he's going to imitate. So teach that to the child. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manveen. And parents, thanks a lot for participating in this. I'm sure this was good. And I hope we'll be able to arrange more sessions for all of you. We request you to share this session's feedback to all of us and with other parents as well.
I'm looking forward to the feedback too.
Sure. Yeah, guys, please feel free to write your feedback. That is critical so that we can help you, help us to help you. We can bring in, we can do this in next session with that specific topics and things like that. Thank you. Thanks a lot.